everyone? It is Ando, and today we got a ton of news, so I'm going to be dropping this video to help give you a recap on everything that kind of dropped. And so I know it's been a while since our last video. I know I've been a little bit spotty. Work's just been crazy. Life's been crazy. But I appreciate you guys coming out here, sharing this time with me. Want to hear you guys' thoughts on all the things that we're going to talk about today. Yeah, the purpose of this video is just so that way we can kind of recap everything that I saw, and I'm going to give you a little bit of perspective as well. So let's start off with a little bit of a negative thing. At least it's negative in my point of view, because I just don't know where it goes from here, right? And so we're going to go into the game really quick. So one of the things that I've been wondering about, and as we start to get more of these marquees, I feel like I'm starting to see the trend here. We got the first two sets of Galactic Legends requirements right out the gate, pretty much in standard cadence as we are expected. And then all of a sudden the Ezra kit reveal came out, and they said, hey, this is going to be a requirement for... I don't remember if they actually said it's going to be a requirement, but they basically said, like, hey, this is going to be released at basically the same time as Ahsoka Tano. I don't remember the exact verbiage, but that was essentially what they conveyed, right? Like Ezra was going to be at release before, Galactic Legend Ahsoka is here, which means that we have 3 months. Like, we are currently in the first iteration of that conquest. We have 2 more after this. That will take up 3 months. Now, they didn't say anything about an expedited schedule. Like, I know with Maul, I think they mess around with, like, I think there was only 1 week in between. So it was more like 2 months, to get Maul. They haven't mentioned anything about that this time. So we're left now with just 2 sets of requirements. Good news for us is that, like, Night Trooper and Captain Enoch and Death Trooper, those guys are going to be farmable by that point, right? Like, in 3 months, they're going to be farmable, and you will have been able to get them free to play, which is great. Like, I love that part. But what worries me, and where I guess worry is probably a better emotion than negativity. They told us that Balin's Skull wasn't going to be a requirement. However, we did learn today that Balin's Skull has got some other stuff going on there. Like, we're getting a brand new faction, and there's some key characters coming in with that. I have a feeling that while Balin's Skull himself might not be part of the requirements, his requirements might be part of Ahsoka Tano's requirements as well. Now, again, in some cases, if you're kind of just playing the long game in this, that's a great news, because then you kind of get a 2-for-1. You get this, epic confrontation character, and mostly, the Galactic Legend unlocked within relatively the same amount of characters that you needed to unlock. But again, if you're trying to kind of get on that front edge of things, this is going to provide that challenge where it's like, like, I'm, either I need to spend money to get new characters, or I need to get, spend money to get the relics, or like I have to crystal hoard, all these other things. So that's just kind of the little bit of the negative thing, I guess. I don't want to make it sound like it's the world's crashing kind of thing, but I'm a little bit worried that we're going to have 3 months now in between our sets of requirements. It doesn't bode well for us, I think. Again, if you're playing the long game, it probably is fine. It's probably a great thing. But if you're like trying to rush into it, it's probably not going to be great. Anyways, let's talk about this. We're not going to go into depth about the Great Mothers, just really high level stuff. Pretty interesting. It's going to be basically like a Jabba Hutt character, large, oversized character, I think is what they called it. They are calling this an elite marquee character, right? Is how they're kind of going about it. Same way to acquire it, but they just think that it signifies a power level closer to a journey guy unit. So, take a quick break back into the game really quick. I have 33,000 crystals that I have been hoarding for quite some time. I was expecting a capital ship. It's clear to me that we are not getting a capital ship, at least not right in the immediate future. We might be getting one by the end of the year. I don't know. But right now, 33,000 crystals is a lot to sit on. I'm probably going to end up spending all those crystals on Great Mother. And for another reason that we are getting a Datacron at the 7-star tier for the marquee event. So yes, this is also a requirement for Balin Skull. So all those things combined, I'm having this feeling that I'm now, instead of like, I was gonna try and keep up with the Ahsoka one, and the the not farming or the not crystal farming of like Death Trooper and Night Trooper and all those, was very deliberate on my part to try and stay ahead of things, right? Knowing that by the time that Ahsoka is released, those will also be free to play farmable, and that's where I'm going to try to go with that. Well, it now feels like I said, I'm pivoting now more towards the Balin Skull event because I think that's coming first. Then we'll get a Galactic Legend Ahsoka with Ezra, kind of being in around that same area. So, anyways, that's the big thing. Like I said, the basic big thing is, you inflict tenacity down as long as they got doomed. That's awesome. I love that. You also do this 20% max health stacking reduction. That's awesome as well. There's just a lot of things in here that actually read really, really well. But the big thing that I think everyone knows, that's the whole dependent upon like how good this second Night Sister team is what does the Datacron look like, right? For 4 months at least, I think we're going to see Great Mothers, the Night Sisters in general, do some crazy things. What are those things? That's going to be revealed to us probably tomorrow, I think, if I had to guess, on exactly what that Datacron does. So just a little food for thought. Like I said, not trying to pressure anyone. Just know that I do have a crystal hoard. I've been saving it for a while, trying to stay on the front edge of Ahsoka, but it seems like we're going to have to pivot from that because I don't think that that's coming anytime soon. It seems like it's coming in about 3 months. I can build up another crystal hoard again to try and stay in front of that. But I think right now, Balin Skull is probably more imminent, right? So that's just my take on it. Again, curious to hear yours, so make sure you let me know. Okay, so enough about that. Now they told us, hey, here's a sneak peek of what Shin and Merrick looks like. Cool. If you'll watch the shows, you'll know that that's a very much of a Shin and Merrick thing to look like. All right, now the next thing is we got a community update. Interesting. It's not like a State of the Galaxy. It's not a road ahead. I don't know if this is like supposed to replace that. But anyways, they're going to talk a little bit more about the new Mercenary tag, Balin Skull, and then a small snippet about Galactic Legends and Ahsoka Tano. So they make sure to be aware that like a lot can change as they're still developing and designing these things. But basically, it's going to be a new faction, right? Mercenaries, and they're going to have this buff called Soldiers of Fortune. And the way that it sounds in here when they kind of talked about this was Balin Skull was going to have, and this is going to be like one of those blue status effects, right? It's not a buff. It's not a, debuff or anything like that. It's a blue status effect. Can't be removed, can't be prevented kind of thing. Balin Skull is going to be the one that activates it all for the new characters, Shin and Marok and himself. And then it will only be applied to the old characters via him, right? So he's got one, Marok's got one, Shin's got one, and the older characters will receive them as well as they'll share it with each other, the trifecta, if you will. And then, the older characters will get those from, Marok, Shin, and Balin, right? So they also talked a little bit about there's mercenaries and there's bounty hunters, right? Hard to delineate between the two, but for the purposes of this game and for balance's purposes, I'm sure they're going to try and keep them pretty separate. There was one by name exception, right? When they were like, hey, if you are both doing some bounty hunting and then you do some broader mercenary work like Chrysanthemum, you will probably be included with both. And then they talk about how Shin and Marok are going to be mercenaries as well to work underneath Balin Skull. And then kind of like I was saying before, right? They said like they're kind of be kind of their own unique buff that they kind of give to each other. Think of like bounty hunters with their contract, right? When they achieve a contract, like the leader has a contract that you fulfill, but then usually individually, like in the unique, they'll say something, hey, like if a contract was achieved, this character now has 20%, you know, critical damage or something like that, right? So it sounds like Soldier of Fortune is also going to have something similar to that effect, where it's like Balon's is different and what he gives to each one of them is different, as versus Marok's, as versus Shin's as well. That's how it sounded like to me anyways. But anyways, all that being said, that was sort of the explanation of Soldier of Fortune. And here's the full list of previous release characters that are now going to be mercenary tags, right? So we got Boba Fett, Sign of Django. I like this because I've been waiting for him to get some sort of use outside of Territory Wars, and this seems like maybe like he'll get it. Cad Bane, Canderous Ordo, Cara Dune, Dash Rendar, Dangar, Doc Afra, Embo, Fennec Shan, Han Solo. This is a big one here for me because we feel like we're in, at least I have felt, in the upper echelons of Kyber 1 and in the upper echelons of Territory Wars, it feels like we're in a spot where CLS is now, we've talked for years and years and years where we're like, CLS is still applicable, and he is, but we feel like we're at the spot where it's like, we got to break up CLS. Like, that's what we have to do. So yeah, Han Solo, Hondo, Jango Fett, Jedi Knight Calcast is a very interesting one there. Kersantin, Kyle Katarn, L337, Marok, obviously a mission, Kira, Sana, Shin, the Mandalorian Beskar armor, Vandor Chewie, Vet Han, young Han Solo, young Lando, Zalbar, and Zam. So again, not, you know, like that's a pretty broad list. It's going to be interesting right now. Obviously, we've only really got Balon that's going to be kind of the leader of that, but it's going to be interesting to see, right, who might in the future get some sort of additional mercenary leadership help. I could think of a few off the top of my head, but we'll see how that all goes. Now, they kind of talk about like what the character designs for each one of the guys are. Very cool, but I'm not going to go over it too much. And then again, Galactic Legends Ahsoka Tano, you know, 3 months out, so I don't want to like preemptively build her up, but it sounds like she's a light side GL. A lot of her stuff is going to be buffing her allies, and she's going to try and tank some of the stuff. Now, I don't know if that means she's going to be a tank, actually, or if she's just sort of, you know, going to stealth everyone while she takes hits. Not sure. But the other thing that was just kind of like casually thrown in there, and this is why I think we're not getting a new capital ship anytime soon. Anytime soon meaning like the next 3 to 4 months, right? Punishing one. So Dangar ship, the punishing one, which is what I thought we were going to get when Executor first came out, but I'm glad it's here, is meant to provide another option for the Executor fleet. Adding the punishing one to the starting lineup of the Executor fleet should help the fleet perform better against most matchups. Leviathan's going to remain a difficult matchup, but Executor should be able to hold more consistent against everyone else. Everyone else to me means potentially against Negotiator. That's going to be tough to swallow, right? I think that's going to be a tough one for us to try and figure out how to beat Executor as like a little mini power adjustment there. So anyways, that covers most of the news, guys. Hopefully I was able to inform you guys and keep you guys up to date while not getting too into the depths here. Like I said, I'm gonna probably go for Great Mother here. The Datacron is just the cherry on top. Really, what I'm trying to build now towards is Balin Skull, because I think those requirements are gonna feed into what we need for Ahsoka with his team, right? And I think like Shin is going to be part of that. Marok is going to be part of that. We'll see though. Anyways, guys, let me know what you guys think. Hopefully you guys are enjoying your lives. I appreciate you guys watching. Hit the thumbs up if you guys liked it. Subscribe to the channel so you guys don't miss anything else. And let me know what you guys think. We'll see you guys in the next one.